Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm with Ian from
Hello, Ian from Playground.
and my name is Yusuf. Today we're going to talk about some of the commonly asked questions by the community and I get Ian to ask me the question and I will answer them as best as I could.
Okay, so after gathering some of the questions, now usually we have the first question. What's the best motor for BMAX for speed and torque?
Okay, motor, we all have a few classes, few types of motors available for you to use at BMAX since there is no limitations on the motor use unlike some tune class for example which is limited to only tune motors. So on the table here we have some example motors. This is for double shafts. It applies to single shafts also. So the first thing we're going to talk about what is the fastest in terms of RPM. So for double shaft we have Macdash Pro. So this one has the fastest in terms of lap speed. And then we go to the balanced one, which is Hyperdash Pro.
What for
And
light dash?
Light Dash sits slightly lower than Hyperdash Pro in terms of speed. So if you talk about torque, okay, on paper, Hyperdash Pro has the best number of torque and with the torque tune. However, when we talk about speed, right, Hyperdash Pro has the better RPM. But in this case, you're asking for torque. So if you want fast and tacky, you can stick with your Hyperdash. If you just want pure speed, you can stick with your Macdash. And if the track does not require that you go very fast, then you can try Macdash. Or even my personal favorite tune.
How about the other two tune motors like Atomic Tune and Rev Tune?
On paper, RevTune has higher RPMs compared to Atomic or Torque. However, my personal experience is that our machines are too heavy for the RevTune to live up to its potential. So I would say RevTune is reserved for pure super speed tune class only. So if you play tune class and you want high speed, you go with your RevTune. Of course, I wouldn't say it's a bad motor. It's just not suitable for a technical layout. So RevTune reserved for pure speed tune class. Because if you say about just speed alone, if you throw in a Macdash versus a RevTune, the RevTune is going to be left in the dust. There's no way for you to catch up with a Macdash. Okay, for Atomic, it's in between. It's in between the torque tune in terms of the torque and the RevTune in terms of the speed. So if you find your torque tune is still too fast for your machine, you can try the Atomic tune. They are basically has their own sets of pros and cons depending on the layout that you are playing with.
So let's say for single shaft, we do not have the Macdash. So what would be a good replacement?
Okay, single shafts have a slightly different tier of motors. We just talk about the dash level motor. They have one more in between. So we start with the light dash for single shaft, and then we have the hyper dash, and then we have one more called the power dash, and then we have the fastest in terms of RPM sprint dash. So if you want to match with a Macdash Pro in terms of top speed, you throw in the sprint dash. And if you want to match the level of torque, you can throw in the hyper dash or the power dash. On paper, power dash has the best torque of all the motors legally.
So now let's move on to the second question. This is a bit tricky. So how do I do the weight distribution for different chassis?
Okay.
So I think they are curious about, how they can balance the car in terms of weight. Because we have the front motor, we have the mid motor, and we have the rear motor.
Generally speaking, the motor placement affects the weight distribution. I have a FMA chassis here. This is an example. So the weight of the motor is in the front. And then this is a MA chassis, which is the weight of the motor in the middle. The car is constantly moving forward. Okay. We are always trying to achieve as stable jumps as possible. So we prefer something heavier in the front, which is like FMAY is quite popular in racing. I'm not discounting the rear motors. It's just that it's slightly harder to balance the rear motors because all of the weight is at the back. Your jumps will be affected because of this weight.
Rear motor, when it jumps, does the car tend to jump like that?
Yeah, you will try to tilt backwards. So you will jump this way. For front motor, we want the jump to be this way so that you can enter the track easily.
How about for the mid-motor cars?
Okay, the double shafts machine is slightly interesting because depending on how you put in the weight, you can make it run like a FM or run like a rear motor. So if you feel like you need a more dive-in characteristic, you throw in more weights in the front.
So let's say, for example, this setup you have here. Okay. So would the car tend to dive in more, or it would tend to be like rear motor?
This setup that I made is designed for balance run. Balance in terms of jumps character. It doesn't tend to go forward or doesn't tend to go backwards. That is more balanced. However, the track conditions are always different on every run. Your motor speed will play a part, your brake will play a part, your tires will play a part. So I would say of all of these things put together, it will create the character. However, if for me personally, right, if I want to have a starting ground, I will set up balance first. Then I make an observation of the layout of the way the car runs, and then I make changes as necessary.
So I think we have one last question. Okay. The question will be, what are the different class of racing? So from what we understand, there's a few different class. So for different kind of players. So how many classes are there actually?
Okay, in the community all over the world, generally people play a few classes. We talk with the highest level. The highest level is the open class. So open class limitations is unlimited. You can put in unlimited number of rollers, unlimited position of dampers, unlimited modifications of parts, unlimited parts usage on your car. Technically, you're only limited with the size and dimensions and clearance of the machine. So open class is open. Everything can, from the lowest, simplest, which is stock, to the maximum kind of modifications you can make.
Any car can join an open class race.
Yes, of course, you can't run your F1 or you can run your RC. Those are not allowed. But let's stick to the basic of the Mini 4 that is currently in the game. Open class basically means anything and everything. So the motor is limited to a certain cap, which is like Dash Pro or Spring Dash.
So can I bring a BMX car to an open class race?
Yes, can. There is no limitation on open class. Everything is allowed in open class as long as you fit within the limitation set, which is the dimension, the clearance, and
The roller settings.
No, the roller is unlimited. The roller is unlimited.
No dangling of rollers.
No dangling, unlimited. Open class is allowed. So open class is more open. I would say no limitations on what you can do to the machine. As long as it's allowed, then it's in. You can use it, no problem. Okay. Now the next tier that is currently popular, which is the BMX class. The BMX class is meant to encourage people to have a feel of what open class is, because you can slap in a faster motor, but with a certain limitations, which is not allowed to trim and cut. Your tires, you cannot be trimmed. You are not allowed to cut on your plates that you use. And there's no gimmicks allowed. So gimmicks are things that are allowed in open class. Can be a lot of interesting gimmicks that you see today, like for example, custom slidings and with the anchor setup and with the AT setup. You've seen all of this in YouTube all over the place. Yes, all over the place, but BMX is not. BMX is encouraged to use hard covers and plug and play setup.
Keep things simple for
So
new players who wants a more competitive environment.
yes, so our basic, not say basic, our my setup for BMAX, in this case, this FMA and this MA. So there are some things you can do to your BMAX. Like in this case, you can have some parts that is attached to it to make it more better. For example, I have this threaded shaft for my rear roller, so to make it longer. And then you can stack FRPs if you want. For example, my disc brake, I have 2 pieces of brake just to make it thick, stronger. Those are the things that you can do in BMAX. The only thing you cannot do is cut, because in open class, people cut to achieve certain results. But for BMAX, you don't necessarily need to cut them. Anyway, the rules is already not allowed to cut. So there's no cutting involved. So new people who don't know what to do in open class yet can try to do the BMAX. Throw in a strong motor if they want. Like in this case, I have a Hyperdash in my FME. And still get to enjoy competitive racing. Then the next class after BMAX will be your tune class. We don't play tune class in Singapore. We already have BMAX class for that. Tune class is just limited to tune motors. So
Which is like your rev tune, your atomic tune,
and
stock tune.
yes, and of course the stock motor. Also for tune class, it is similar in rules for BMAX, except in some countries they allow tune class to trim or cut for the parts that they use. And then the last class that is popular in some place is the stock class. Stock class are basically very simple. You buy the kit box, whatever is in the kit box, you just race with that. So whether you are fast or not, it depends on how lucky you get in the box.
I think that is all for the question for now. So thank you, Yusri, for your time to help answer some of these quite commonly asked questions, especially what class do we have, what sort of motor is good, We always feel that all motors are good. It
Yes.
really depends on the situation.
Yes, it depends on the situation.
So there are some track where Hyper can outperform a Mac Dash or Power Dash. There's also some track whereby using a light dash can actually give you a more consistent performance.
That's true.
Yeah. So thank you for today. Then
We'll catch you in the next part for more questions.
thank you.
Ciao.